Casino workers of Las Vegas, what are some of the craziest moments you've experienced with your customers? This is a second-hand story from a lovely lady who was a dealer in Vegas in one of the crappy casinos on Fremont Street. She was dealing at a blackjack table where you can do one of those crazy side bet things on certain rare hand combinations to get a bonus jackpot. Anyways, one guy hit it and won 35 grand. This was a big deal and he grabbed his cards off the table to show his friends, and the casino invalidated the play because apparently that was against the rules. Anyways, he did not get his winnings and was escorted out crying. Seemed unfair to me. The other famous Kerry Packer story was he was at a table with some wealthy Texan who was complaining about Packer's preferential treatment. He said to Packer, "I'm worth $70 million. And Packer just looked at him and said, "I'll toss you for it." The guy had big brass gonads. That's for sure. I work in a casino in Canada. It's a pretty big casino, but nothing big ever really happens. A guy tipped me 3 grand once, which was nice. Oh, when I was a slot attendant we were told that we weren't allowed to let customers sleep on the slot machines because it's irresponsible gaming or something. I was walking around once and saw an old lady sleeping, so I tried to wake her up. I guess she was dead. It was a weird shift. Not in Vegas, but dealt craps for 8 years in WA state. Had to shut down and sterilize a table because a guy pissed in the drink rail during a hot hand. I dealt blackjack to Jordan Farmer and Aaron Afallo when they went to UCLA. Mostly I just watched the tweakers bounce from slot machine to slot machine. I found out from someone who works at my local casino that they now offer free adult diapers to prevent people from pissing all over the seats floor during a long gambling session. Oh my god. Where do I begin? I've seen a man inject himself in the leg with insulin. And then leave the syringe sticking out of his leg for an hour because he won a jackpot when he injected himself, so therefore it must be a lucky charm. I have seen people piss and sheet themselves because they didn't want to leave the table slot machine. I've seen people pass out after having sat chain smoking at a slot machine for 36 hours straight. And I've seen other customers get mad because the paramedics interrupted their winning streak. And I've seen a man die of a heart attack at a poker table. And then watched as the rest of the players try to steal his winnings before security could get there. Given I'm not a casino worker in Las Vegas, I really can only chime in with other stories. So I'll stick with one I read in an obituary for Australian billionaire Kerry Packer. Packer was renowned for spending big at the tables. And for his generosity. During one trip, he had a table to himself and started talking to the dealer. Eventually she mentioned that she was struggling to pay her mortgage and feed her family. Packer then decided to tip her a massive amount of money. But the dealer refused, even though she was grateful. Packer asked why. And the dealer said it was because all tips had to be shared with the dealer pool. And that his money would be going to other dealers. Packer stopped her. And said, "Get your manager over here." She tried to interject. But he reiterated that she needed to get her manager. The manager turned up and Packer said, "Fire this woman immediately." Being the whale that he was, the dealer was fired on the spot. Packer then turned to the dealer and said, "Now you don't have to share this with the other dealers." And gave her the full tip. She accepted, obviously. Packer turned to the manager and then said, "Hire this woman immediately." She was hired right away. And got to keep the entire tip. Not Las Vegas. Nor a worker, but I was in my city's main casino after a night out. Trying to claw back the money I spent on drinks, as I do every time I go out, just a bit of fun. Playing roulette because guessing numbers colors is easy for an intoxicated person. Foreign dude. Looked chin eyes came up to the table. Put a couple of decent sized bets down and the majority of his stack was on green. I thought it was a ridiculous bet, but he didn't seem too bothered. Figured he was just having some fun. Anyway, he wins. Seems completely unfazed by the whole thing, whereas I'm losing my sheet. And I'm not even the one who won. Gets his winnings back. Immediately throws it all down on red. Becomes a nervous wreck, losing all his composure as if it's his life savings. It lands on black and he kneels down as if he's winded. Gasping for air. After about 20 seconds he gets up. Facial expression back to normal, walks off with quite a pace on. Never saw him again. One of the weirdest things I've seen. I posted this once upon a time on another account. And it happened 10 plus years ago at this point. I worked at the front desk. My sister worked in housekeeping. She was assigned to clean one of the high-end suites. The guests had left behind empty orange soda cans. Like cases and cases worth. And dildos. Dildos everywhere. The room had been booked by a single, middle-aged woman that seemed normal enough. Except she drank straight creme de menthe and had a perma-green tongue. It had to be the green kind. I can only assume whatever happened was filmed. So if anyone sees an amateur porn featuring a hot tub filled with orange soda, please share. I was at my city's biggest casino with my friend and we were playing roulette. An old gentleman came over in a wheelchair with another younger man pushing him. The old man continuously laid out thousands of dollars and placed it around the table. He'd lose it all and just throw another wad of cash out. The young man just stood behind him silently the whole time. Not crazy. Just a little weird. I'm not sure if the young guy was a caretaker or a relative or what, but that old man must have lost $10,000 in 15 minutes. It was almost like he was laundering money. A dealer over at Binion's Horseshoe would play Keno on his break every day. One day he won $30,000. His next break he ran over to the Golden Nugget with his $30,000. Went up to the craps table in the middle of a roll and said $27,000 across and then placed the point for what he had left. Next roll 7 out. Line away and lost it all. Went back to work a few minutes later like nothing happened. Watched a super drunk guy double up 8 times playing war. Started with $100, walked away with over $12k. I remember my first time at a casino. A friend and I were stumbling drunk and walked to the only free table and asked the dealer to explain how to play war. She told me to give her $20. Which I happily did. She dealt me a 3. Dealt herself a 9 and took my money. All within less than 30 seconds. 21-year-old me was staggered that I'd lost money that quickly. My story isn't too crazy, but it happened a few weeks ago and I'm still pissed. BC, I hate abusive assholes. I work as a fountain worker at a casino at the south end of the strip, and a guy and his so had an argument and smashed a beer bottle on the ground while waiting in line. He stormed out as our hostess called security. We found shards of glass in our food and display and alcohol was splashed on everybody. Ducking as whole, the casino I work at has our own police, so they found him quickly. I'm almost certain he was banned. Overall, customers are pretty much the same everywhere else. But they are reasoning for better services. BC, they are staying in a 5-star hotel when it's really 3 stars, but alright. Not in Vegas, but I had a customer lose about $10,000. He's walking to the ATM to get more money and the dealers let him know that there's a $500 max withdrawal on the ATM, but he can do a credit card advance at the cage for a lot more. He comes back with $20,000 and loses that in 5 hands. I saw a guy lose $20,000 on double-deck blackjack. He was playing 2 hands. $500 hand. He was shaking so bad losing. He then went and got another $20k and lost every single hand. Sometimes it's just a losing day. And you should leave. I heard this from a bartender in the casino at the LV Hilton. There was a couple playing the progressive slot machine where you can play 3 lines at once by paying triple. Essentially lets you gamble faster. Well, the husband goes to the bathroom and the wife takes over the machine and hits the button for play 1 line instead of pay 3 lines. The jackpot combo, 777s or whatever, comes up on the top line, meaning they didn't win the $200,000 progression because she only played 1 line. Husband comes back and she shows him. This was 20-30 years ago, so $200,000 was a lot of money back then. Husband proceeds to beat the shot out of the wife right on the casino floor. He ended up being arrested. Not in Las Vegas. But I watch a lot of arrests happen. Turns out if you go somewhere that is regulated and watched constantly by state troopers and you have a warrant, it's not gonna end well. I don't work in Vegas. I'm a dealer in NZ. One of the coolest thing to happen with a customer was when I was dealing 3-card poker. The player gets 3 cards. And hopefully they have got something good. 3 of a kind and straight flush are the 2 big jackpot hands. I had been dealing to this lady who was alone at my table for a while. She wasn't winning, but she was really nice and chatty, so I was hoping that I would deal a good hand to her and she would win a jackpot. I was joking around, and occasionally as I dealt her cards to her, face down, I would say something like, "This one's gonna be a straight flush." But it wouldn't be. Then one hand I dealt her cards and jokingly said 3 queens. She picks them up, says something like, "Holy shit," turns them around so I can see. And it was actually 3 queens. The friggin' chances of that are so ridiculous, I was buzzing out. It was a super quiet day shift though. She was the only one at my table and my supervisor wasn't even nearby, so nobody else saw. Whenever I tell people, including other dealers, and we have all seen some crazy chancy sheet, they are like, "Aha. Whatever." This will probably get lost. But I used to deal at a native casino in Oklahoma. First month on the floor. And I was dealing blackjack at a table with only one man. Something was a bit off with him. And he seemed a bit distracted. But I carried on a normal conversation with him. Right as my 30 minutes is up. And I'm getting tapped off to go to my next table. Security shows up. My pit boss pulls me aside before I hit my next table and says the guy I was dealing to was masturbating under the table the whole time I had been dealing to him. They didn't want him to run. So they had called security and had me keep dealing. Like, WTF. Pit boss should have tapped me out and dealt to him himself. Not in Vegas. But I was an overnight bar back on a casino boat in the Midwest years ago. I remember seeing this lady in a bright red sweater sitting at a video poker machine close to the end of my shift one morning. The next night I come in and every time I'd walk by the video poker machines I'd smell sheet. So bad I started looking for sheet smears on the carpet. Then I noticed the woman playing video poker in a purple t-shirt. She had a red sweater on the chair next to her. I asked security if she was there all day and he said that she'd come in on the previous night. Right before he left and she hadn't moved. And he was positive that she had pissed herself and pretty sure she'd sheet herself too. I'm not a casino worker. But played blackjack with some dude for about 6 hours and we both proceeded to get absolutely sheet-faced drunk. He finally got up from the table and went out the front door. About 10 minutes later he comes back in driving a golf cart he had stolen from one of the groundskeepers. Drove it right in the front door. Security had him ripped out of that thing in seconds. It was hilarious. Honestly, the worst stuff you see working in a casino isn't the big one-offs, though they do happen. It's the people you see come in every single day. Until you realize they've gone from gambling £10,000 plus a visit to basically nothing. But will stay in the casino for upwards of 12 hours anyway. We had one customer who would come in at 12 PM when we opened. And leave at 9 AM when we closed every day. He never bet more than 20p. But his lifetime spent for the last couple years was over £100,000. The guy had gambled away his life. My favorite story though is about the guy who stole a ball out of the roulette wheel and legged it for the front door. Not expecting the dealer to run after him and straight up rugby tackle him to the ground. That was funny. He got to keep the ball. I was a bellman for many years and I'm still in the industry today. About 15 years ago, I was on the 19th floor of my hotel coming back from a front, and as I turned the corner into the elevator lobby to go down I stumbled upon a hooker taking an enormous sheet on the floor. She just looked at me and said, "Damn." I just had to go. People are ducking disgusting. Working in the morning at the Starbucks in the Excalibur food court. 5 AM shift and some guy comes up to the counter asking for water. He was holding a bottle of pills, so surely he was going to take some medicine. Well, he takes his medicine at our handout window along with a little drug snorting station. Credit card. Dollar bills. And the pills crushed and laid out. I wasn't sure what he was doing and asked my coworker to look over to confirm. We called security and he was still there. Security pulled him away with him getting more pissed off that he couldn't finish than being arrested. There was a bunch of vacant tables but he chooses our handout counter where we call the drinks out. A friend of my father's is one of those casino hosts. They've known each other for years. He's the guy that handles all the high rollers. Many of them would demand really strange things. One guy used to demand that he have a whole case of canned tuna fish and water. And a whole case of bottled water in his suite when he arrived. Also, some rich people like to get really drunk, lose a bunch of money, then turn around and attempt to sue the casino because the casino kept serving them alcohol. And that's why they lost so much money. Live in Vegas. Went to the casino to pick up my friend who worked at the theater. There was a ton of security at the slots because some old dude died gambling. Happens every now and then according to security. I didn't work at a casino but my ex was a supervisor at Bellagio so I used to hang out there all time. One time I saw a dude just peeing on a wall out in the open. He looked up at everyone and said in a drunken mumble, "I'm sorry everyone." One time I was walking toward my ex to tell him something and a famous poker player thought I was approaching him. He started asking me if I wanted a picture and I kinda feel bad knocking his ego down a peg but I had no idea who he was and said no and started talking to who I was there to talk to. Found out later it was Doyle Brunson. In 2001, I watched a man commit suicide inside the Luxor Hotel by jumping off an inside balcony. The inner hotel is a hollowed out pyramid, so the balconies overlap inwards all the way to the top. As I was taking a guest's order, I watched his body impact in the check-in lobby. Headfirst. Exploded like a watermelon. All over a couple kids. I had gotten off work at my casino and wanted to play at a local casino. I'm playing the slots when a man runs into the casino and starts screaming that he got hit by a car. He goes on a rampage, throwing drinks at bartenders, and punches a glass on several machines. This completely messed up his hands. By the time hotel security tackled him, he was passed out from blood loss. Meanwhile the girl next to me gets 6 out of 7 quick hits while this is going on for $1,800. Not a casino worker, but I watched a man and woman drunkenly define with hit bottom for me in the center of Caesar's Palace at 6 AM a few years ago. I had driven in from California with the family the night before and got up early to play some blackjack when the man yelled at the woman, "I need some money," to which she replied, "There is no more money," he asked. "What about our savings account?" she sternly said. "You don't understand. It's gone. It's all gone." I never even slowed down. I hit the tables for a while and then left and ordered pancakes from room service for the family. Vegas. My uncle is a pit boss for high stakes baccarat. He tells me stories of rabbis pre-placing their bets before the Sabbath. Famous celebrities being douches. And surprisingly nice celebrities. Worked as a manager at some nightclubs in the casinos. Have seen customers get sheet-faced asked to leave. Cause a disturbance in back of house. Metro arrives and gets assaulted. Said customers are then tasered. Had the owner of Manchester United come in one Monday and proceed to run up a 200k bill. Was personally assaulted by young buck as he tried to smuggle in his own bottle of booze. NBA All-Star Weekend was the craziest weekend I saw in 10 years of working there. It got so bad restaurants just took the losses walkouts to avoid fights. Some single rooms had up to 25 people staying in them.